All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television show in the history of Fairbanks, Alaska. I've got my University of Fairbanks shirt on. Anyway, it is the #1 television show in that part of the country. I'm Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all 3 books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Now, I am reviewing today A Cold-Blooded Business by Dana Stabenow. This is book number 4 in her Kate Shugak Alaskan mystery series. We can even see it says number 4 right there. I like that Zeus Publishing, who published these books, put the little 4 on both here in the spine. I've got the entire Kate Shugak mystery series down here on my shelf. We can show you right there. They all look, I mean, you can see how the entire set of books is numbered. And anyway, I can't remember how many books are in the series, but there's 21 or 22 or 23. I've got them all. We're going to be reading them all and reviewing every single one for the channel. In fact, this winter, so this week, 2 days ago, I reviewed another Alaskan mystery by Stan Jones. I reviewed book number 2 in his Nathan Active Alaskan mystery series. And then yesterday I reviewed book number 2 in John Straley's Alaskan mystery series starring Cecil Younger. And now today I'm going to be reviewing book 4 in the Dana Stabenow series starring Kate Shugak. And then later this month I will be reviewing the new Mark Cameron Alaskan mystery. So this winter is the winter of my reading a shit ton of Alaskan mystery series. I'll just tell you that right now, because I've already planned on February reading some more Dana Stabenow, Stan Jones, John Straley, and on Mark Cameron. Anyway, let's talk about the covers first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration, and I like all of the covers for the Dana Stabenow books. This one is a great picture of the Alaskan pipeline, which is great because this book deals a lot with the Alaskan pipeline. And I know quite a bit about the Alaskan pipeline myself because I grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska in the 70s and 80s when the pipeline was being built. So everything that we're talking about in this book, I was like, okay, I get it, I understand. This book is written in 1994, it takes place in 1994, but it talks an awful lot about things that happened back in the 70s during the building of this pipeline. And it turns out Dana Stabenow, the author, worked for 6 years in the industry helping with this pipeline being built. So she's got a lot of expertise on this. And if you want to learn everything you need to know about how to transport gazillion gallons of oil from one end of Alaska to the other through a pipeline, and all the pumps and things that it takes, and how to heat the thing and keep it from freezing and all that stuff, and how to keep it running and not have it be vandalized and all this stuff, you'll learn it in this book. I mean, it is crazy. I really enjoyed reading the book just for that information alone. Partly because I remember it being built. I've got photos of myself as a kid standing near the construction areas where the pipeline was being built, and standing right in front of the pipeline. I got pictures of myself as an adult. If you go onto Facebook and Instagram, there's several. I've visited Alaska as an adult and taken photos of myself near the pipeline, because in Alaska, if you grew up in Alaska in the 1970s the pipeline was the major industry of the whole place. This talks a lot about, this book goes into some themes based on oil production, drilling in Alaska, drilling for oil in general, and then once you get it from the top of Alaska, Prudhoe Bay, down to the bottom of Alaska so you can put it on the ships, then once it gets on the ships, now you're dealing with a whole other set of problems, like ships crashing into rocks, like the Exxon Valdez, and spilling the oil all over in the Alaska Sea, and killing a bunch of, birds and fishes and whatever else is down there. And so this is just an interesting topic. And another thing, if you lived in Alaska during those times, the companies that were building this pipeline, they drove these bright yellow vehicles pickup trucks, Suburbans. If it was bright yellow, you knew that it had to do with the pipeline, right? And so I remember my dad, before we moved to Utah, a lot of these old vehicles, a lot of these bright yellow trucks and Suburbans, and were being sold at a discount price because the building of the pipeline was winding down. They were getting a little rid of some of their excess, and my dad bought this bright yellow Suburban, Chevy Suburban, and bright fucking, I mean, it's obnoxiously yellow. And we drove it from Alaska down to Utah, and then we had it in Utah forever. And everybody in Sevier County, Utah knew that bright yellow. I mean, it was so obnoxiously yellow that it just stuck out like a sore thumb in Utah. Whereas if you'd have driven around in Alaska, nobody would have thought twice about it, because the place was crawling with bright yellow vehicles because of this. In Utah, it stuck out. I mean, we couldn't go anywhere in secret. Everybody, you could see it coming. It was like a blazing sun coming out of the horizon. I mean, it just was ridiculous. Anyway, I don't know why I got off on that tangent. Let's talk about this book, Cold-Blooded Business. There's a murder happens up on the North Slope, Prudhoe Bay. A dude is fallen. They find him. His name is Chuck Cass, and he's floating in a company pool, just floating there dead. So now we've got to solve this murder, and in comes Kate Shugak. Now she's stationed down in more of the southern part of the state, and so they fly her up to Prudhoe Bay, and she does her investigation. There's a character, oddly enough, named Cale Yarborough. Well, I don't know why she chose to, and it's spelled, there's a real famous NASCAR racer in the 80s and 90s named Cale Yarborough, and I'm like, it just took me out of the story. Every time I would be like, why is Cale Yarborough in? Because it's such a unique name, and it's spelled so uniquely, but yet it's got the same spelling. And every time I would read it, I'm like, what sort of artistic choice was that, and why? And I'm really curious to know why there's a character named Cale Yarborough in this story about a murder mystery involving the Alaska pipeline. Was Dana Stabenow now just a huge fan of the NASCAR driver Cale Yarborough? Or was it just a random coincidence that she yanked a name out of the ether, and it just so happened to be the same name as a NASCAR driver? This is just, it perplexed me as I read the whole book. I was perplexed. Vexed. I was perplexed and vexed by this phenomenon, and I'd like to know why. Or how? Was it strictly coinkydink, or was it on purpose? Anyway, it has nothing to do. My enjoyment of this book was really high. There's turtle races. There's people that sneak around and pull on grizzly bears' tails just to see what happens. There's a murder mystery. I like Kate Shugak, the main character. She's a feisty police officer, just great. I like it. She's been through a lot of stuff. Kate Shugak, the main character in this, has been through a lot of stuff. And in the 4 books that I've read so far of the series, she goes through more. But even prior, and I wonder if there's a prequel novel somewhere in here where we get to see a lot of the incidents that happened because there are some harrowing things that she goes through. But anyway, I'll just read the back of this and we'll end this. In 3 months, the Prudhoe Bay oil operation has logged 6 drug overdoses and 1 death. Chuck Cass, 34, production operator, loner, found floating face down in the company pool wearing full flight gear. Jack King, head of the Alaska Royal Petroleum Company, is a man with all the social grace of a blast furnace and a company-wide drug problem. So he's in need of a discreet investigator to sign on at ground level, someone who can navigate a flatbed truck through a 15-knot wind at 40 degrees below freezing and root out all the narcotic supply people without rousing suspicion amongst their co-workers. Sounds like a job for investigator Kate Shugak. That's a very good description of the book. We'll go with that one. I like this series. It's actually becoming fast one of my favorite mystery series of all time. So I like these a lot. I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10.